to speak for public, they may have to come up here because the camera to that isn't hooked up properly, okay?
And they disconnect everything.
Okay.
You on, Harold? He loves to.
Jetta, we are here for the planning board meeting, regular meeting dated Monday, June 2nd, 2014. Jetta, could I please have you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Colton Max,
Here.
Mr. Lerner,
Here.
Mr. Rosner,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Torpe,
Here.
Mr. Allen,
Here.
Mr. Chambers,
Here.
Mr. Lerman,
Here.
and Ms. Harris.
Here.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, PL 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2014 to the South Orange Maplewood News Record and the Star Ledger in December 2013, and by filing said notice in the office of the village clerk. Does everyone have a copy of tonight's agenda? Okay, and let's start moving through it. First item, approval of minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting held on Monday, May 5th, 2014. These were distributed prior to the meeting. If anybody has any corrections or comments, please offer them. If not, I'll take a motion to adopt.
So moved. Second?
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Next, we're moving on to applications to be heard. I'm going to skip around just a little bit. The first application, case number 234, 1014 Academy Street Corporation, which block 2013, lot 3, 14 Academy Street. Preliminary and final site plan. Applicant proposes to divide the premises into separate uses for a restaurant, continued use, and retail stores. I have here a letter dated May 27, 2014 from the legal counsel representing the applicant, Stephen Geffner from Schneck, Price, Smith, and King, or excuse me, Schenck, Price, Smith, and King, indicating that they would be asking to carry the case to the July 2014 date for our next meeting, and unfortunately informs that their engineer had a tragic death in his family and therefore could not complete the plans in a timely fashion to submit to the board before the June 2014 meeting date as we had requested. So the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 7th, 2014. Unless there's any objection, I would suggest that we carry this, and if that is the case, I do not believe further notice is required.
Correct.
Okay. Is that all right with the board?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so just to sort of clear off the agenda, I'm going to skip down to the third item on the agenda, case number 231, Luther P. Turner Jr. and Hazel A. Turner, Block 704, Lot 1, 14 Kingman Road. Minor subdivision. Applicant is proposing to subdivide the existing lot to create two lots with the intent to construct a one-family dwelling on the new lot. This was referred to the Historic Preservation Commission. I believe that the application was denied and that they are appealing the decision to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Is there any movement on that or any new news to report?
There's no hearing date set yet. We're waiting. There's no hearing date yet. We're waiting for the transcripts at the zoning board.
Okay, so this will just continue to remain on the agenda until such time as this has been heard by the Zoning Board of Adjustment and we can potentially move forward from there. Which brings us back to the one case I believe we'll be able to hear this evening, which is case number 236, Papillon 25 Restaurant, LLC, Block 1906, Lot 6, 24 First Street. Minor site plan. The applicant is proposing to operate the property as a restaurant and sports bar. Do we have representation from the applicant tonight? If you could please come up to the stage and to the podium. I just want to make a general announcement as you come up. While there is a microphone, and normally we do have people from the public speak at the, if they wish, at the microphone at the bottom. I have been informed that the camera will not function tonight to record anybody who is at the bottom, and therefore we ask that anybody who wishes to speak this evening from the public or from the applicant, please come and speak at the podium here. If there is an elevator if necessary, if you need that kind of assistance. So, having said that, please, sir, proceed.
Thank you. My name is Reginald Long from the law firm of Love and Long, based in Newark, New Jersey. I represent the applicant, Papillon 25 Restaurant LLC, and specifically, we are here this evening to present our minor site plan application, specifically for 24 First Street, Block 1906, Lot 6. Generally, and I'll be very brief, we'll try to give you as much information as you need, and certainly to the extent that we haven't covered it within our presentation, please feel free to ask us any particular questions that you have, but we'll move through it fairly quickly. There'll be two testimony given today, one by the architect and the other by the owner. We'll try to outline specifically the operation of the restaurant. The renovations are fairly straightforward, but we'll also provide a general outline of the impact associated with the floor plan, as well as the elevations and a general description of the exterior and how it will be affected. Again, the application involves a renovation of 24 First Street in order to operate it as a restaurant and sports bar. I'd like to jump directly to having testimony from our architect, Mr. Jim DeBarberi. Did I blow that, Jim? With your permission, I'd like to have him sworn in.
Please proceed. If you could come up again to the podium, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you'll give here this evening is the whole truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
James DeBarbieri, that's spelled D-E-B-A-R-B-I-E-R-I. My office address is 355 Murray Hill Parkway in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would like to proceed to have Mr. DeBarberi qualified as an expert.
Please.
Mr. DeBarberi, if you could provide us with some of your qualifications and background.
Okay, as I said, I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I received my Bachelor of Architecture degree from the University of Notre Dame. I received my license to practice in New Jersey in 1979. And I have licenses in 8 other states, including the surrounding states of New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. I'm a member of the American Institute of Architects and New Jersey Society of Architects, and I've appeared before many planning boards and boards of adjustments and provided testimony.
Does anybody on the board object to accepting this witnesses? Okay. Please, we accept. Please proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're going to need to keep it over there because there's also the public viewing this at home. If we need to get a closer look at it, we'll probably ask you to pass it around at some point. Where it was before, yeah, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
The mics do come out, because you have to speak into the mic at all times, so you can take one of the mics out.
Okay.
Are both microphones working up here?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so
Okay,
that might
so
make
I'll
it
take
easier.
this one. Which one?
Okay, no. Which one? Mr. Barbera, if you will, DeBarbera, excuse me, if you will, if you could just simply take us through the project.
Okay, the first plan is the same plan that was submitted to you, except I added some color to it. On the left side of the sheet is...
Mr. Long, can we please identify that and we'll mark it?
Sure.
Certainly.
That's my drawing A2. It's entitled Proposed Site Plan and Existing Elevation.
Mr. Long, may we, is that just, that the only sheet of the set that's changed, that's colorized?
No.
Also, is my drawing A1 entitled Floor Plan and Exterior Elevation.
And what is the date on those plans? 'Cause I have two A1s with different dates on them.
Okay, the date on A2 is 5/12/14. On A1, the original date is 4/2/14, but there was a revision 1 with a 5/12/14 on it.
So, would it be okay with you, Mr. Long, if we mark the sheet that's already marked A2 as Exhibit A2?
That's fine.
And
That's
the
fine.
sheet that's marked as A1?
That's fine. Do you have markers, or would you like me
If you
specifically?
could write on there, that'd be great.
Great, thank you.
Please proceed.
Okay, in the center of drawing A2 is our key site plan. I have colored in to show, and I know you can't see it from far away, but the location of the property. It's on the corner of Valley Street and First Street. It's about 2 blocks away from the railroad station, about a block away from the public parking area. It's in a B1 business zone. To the left of this drawing is the site plan. You can see that I've colored in the building, and it's almost occupies the entire area of the site, except for a small corner where it's chamfered. The site area, lot area, is about 8,147 feet, so the building itself is about 8,000 square feet. It's a 2-story building. The upper level from Valley Street would look like a 1-story building to you because First Street slopes down. The upper level is currently occupied by a wine emporium and a Papillon 25 restaurant. We did provide an elevation of that as viewed from Valley Street on our drawing. There really are no proposed changes to that elevation. The entrance to the sports bar and restaurant will be at, let's call it the west end of the building, furthest point off this property from Valley Street, and that's where you enter into the lower level. Proceeding to drawing A1. Again, this is the same as was submitted to you, but I added some color. On the upper left is the floor plan of the restaurant and sports bar. Again, I know it's going to be hard to see, but in the tan are the areas that are generally going to be dining areas in this facility. They are on both sides of a center area, which is the bar, which I've colored in a brick color, and the reason for that is we're going to retain that brick floor that is currently there. If you're familiar with the old Cryans, you'll recall that floor. The bar itself will also have some dining seating along the brick wall that we're also going to retain in that area. There's a gray area to the lower left that's set aside as a private dining area. In the upper left are the toilets. The facility is going to be completely redone, the toilets enlarged. In the upper right is the kitchen, which is the existing location for it, but that kitchen is also going to be renovated. The biggest change on this will be that we're going to open up next to the entrance of this sports bar the area. If you're familiar with how it looks now, there's just a single door there. There's really no windows into it, and we intend to open this up with glass doors and a window in that area. The idea is try to get some light and openness to this restaurant. This will bring light into this dining area. If any of you have been to that, to the old Cryans, you'll recall how confined and dark it was as soon as you got into that facility. We also would like to open up two former locations for windows. This is on the, I guess, west or rear end of the building. You can see them now. They're blocked in areas. We'd like to put two windows in those same openings. We envision a translucent wire glass window or maybe even glass block. We'll have to put a wrought iron guard on that window also. At the bottom of the drawing is the elevation that faces First Street. What we're going to do with that elevation, you'll see that we enlarged and opened up that window into the restaurant, and you can see the double glass doors. We're also going to remove all the old, I guess, Irish batter boards on the front and sandblast this to expose the existing brick. We propose to put an awning across the front over the windows with a semicircle accenting the front entrance doors. Something different and was mentioned in the planning review was the murals that extend from this area up to Valley Street. We're going to like to paint those out. It just does not fit with the decor of this new restaurant. We're trying to make this, although have an older look, we want to open it up and make it more modern. But what we did, and it's different than the plan, which only showed that we were painting that, we're going to break this up with some color bands across here, bringing around that same color from the front of the building, but also breaking this up at the elevation of the awnings and at the base. We're going to bring that color across. We think that'll also, as you're coming toward this facility, give some accent and draw your eye down to that front entrance. The signage we propose would be comprised of a logo sign, a circular logo sign, and a wall sign with the name of the restaurant on it. We don't show right now the wording on these signs because they're still being developed, but area-wise, these signs comply with the ordinance. These signs will be non-illuminated, similar to the rest of the signs in that downtown area. We will have some extended arm lights, 50 watt, not a lot of light, but they will be directed back toward the signs, just to illuminate the signs. That's the extent of the lighting we envision on the front. And I believe that will explain generally the architectural portions of the restaurant and bar.
Thank you, Mr. DeBarberry. With your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to call another witness.
Well, before we do that, we'd like to have the opportunity to ask some questions. Our professionals may have questions, and we have to open it up to the public to ask questions as well. I'm talking into the microphone. I'm trying to. So we need to go through that process. So I'd actually like to start by asking our professionals, Sal or Susan. Susan, I know your firm completed a review of this application. Perhaps you could start the response.
Sure. Maybe what you would like to do is, I know you've provided some of the testimony, but could you go through the review where appropriate and answer the questions or clarify the questions that we would have that are relevant to your testimony?
Okay, these are the comments. What's that page?
I think, yeah, we would be in the comment, page
I guess
4. Page 4.
Okay. These are the comments.
And you've explained, you've provided testimony as to how the proposed renovations will function compared to the other space, so.
Yes, and I think the owners will have some comments on how they
Okay, that's
envision
fine.
the facility, too.
Okay.
In regards to the questions on the windows, we would like to bring that light into the restaurant because that's our theme of getting this opened up and light. We do realize that that's adjacent to an existing property, and it's a paved area it's right adjacent to, but we feel that if it's translucent windows, wire glass, or glass block with a wrought iron guard on it, that it'll be protected. And we don't see that that will be an impact on the adjacent property.
So your testimony is it that in terms of the variance testimony, that the benefits outweigh the detriments?
Yes, that's my testimony. The benefits will outweigh the detriments because we are creating a more open, more inviting restaurant. And there really, I don't see any detriments with the way we're going to protect these windows. In fact, the guards I'm talking about will be directly in line with the face of the wall. The window will be inset, so there will be no projection out from these guards.
Would you like, Mr. Chairman, would you like me to continue, or if anyone has any questions or comments about those issues, would you rather have them?
Well, I think if members of the board have questions about any of these particular items as we're going through it, they certainly can offer those along the way until something like that occurs.
I'll just continue.
You've asked the witness to respond to your individual comments.
Okay.
Either he can continue to do that, or you can ask him questions as he moves along.
Okay. The next question is the encroachment of the existing mechanical equipment, ventilation shafts.
Yes, those are existing exhaust flues for the Papillon restaurant and the Cryans Kitchen. They are existing. They've been there for many years. The bottom of these shafts exit the building at approximately 12 to 13 feet above the pavement, so I don't see that this would have any impact on the adjacent property, and that they do exist. And by that, I believe that means that they were approved at a prior time. I would assume they were approved.
If I may have a follow-up question to that, do we know who the property owner is, who this property encroaches upon? Do we know who that is? I'm sorry, is this on?
It's on, and I do not know.
So at some point in the future, this property owner can exercise his rights at some point and
Either a
terminate?
couple of things have happened. The property owner issued a license to permit the encroachment, or if the property owner failed to do so, then we would have a prescriptive easement, because those things have been there. I've been living in the town for 24 years, and it's been there since I've been here.
Okay, thank you.
I would think also that all the property owners were properly noticed, correct?
Yes.
Including the owner of that lot?
Yes.
In terms of the parking requirement, just for purposes of on the record, what is your parking requirement, particularly because parking is calculated on net floor area, and there's a definition? Did you look at that?
Yes, and you asked me to, or it was questioned here, what's the net floor area of patron use in this restaurant bar? And what I did was, and I hope this satisfies what you were asking, I included all of the dining areas. I included the bar area. I did not include the interior area in the bar, plus I included the private dining area. And it came up to approximately 3,900 square feet in total, which is on an 8,000 square, it's about 50% of this facility would be devoted to patron use. As I testified, the rest of it, I did not include the toilets in that. I did not include the kitchen in that. I did not include the offices or support areas in that.
So if there is one space for 50 square feet of net floor area devoted to patron use, then that would require technically, what, 78? 78 spaces.
Correct.
And would you just, for the record, explain why you believe that you should be granted a variance deviation on that?
As I stated, the building occupies the entire lot right now, except for a small chamfered corner. There's just no room on that lot to add any off-site parking. The other advantage to this property, too, is it's adjacent to the public parking area. There's several around there, and also there's street parking in proximity to this restaurant also. And I believe Cryans operated the same way, and as you know, most of the businesses in that downtown area do not have any on-site parking.
Do you have any idea as to whether the dining area or the patron area has increased from what it had been under Cryans? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I was in the facility. We actually field measured it, and those areas really did not change. The dining areas that we show were there before. The bar is in the exact same location. They did have a private dining area because there were sliding doors that separated that. And I believe there was dining at the valley end of the building. And the kitchen did not change. The toilets are in generally the same area, although we expanded them. So this area is the same as when we field measured this building, about five months ago.
Okay, all right. We asked, our number 11 question was, I'm sorry, let's go to 10, but it has to do with the awnings and the canopy proposed. Will there be in-ground poles in the sidewalk? You should clarify that, and if it is, it may encroach into the right-of-way.
Yeah.
Well, it does one way or the other.
Yeah, I can see why that was brought up, because there's two dark lines come down there. But no, we intend this awning to be supported from the building, completely from the building, and there will be no poles encroaching on that sidewalk.
Okay. I believe that still would require, since it encroaches into the right-of-way, that it may require the Board of Trustees to approve that, because it's, again, even though there are no poles, I don't know, that's a question. No? Okay.
No, you won't be able to hear that, so wait until the...
Okay, that's a question. Sal is saying no, correct?
Yeah, as long as it meets the ordinance requirements, awnings are permitted on the buildings, and there hasn't been an issue with it encroaching over the property line into the right-of-way. Anchors, though, for an awning or canopy like that would require trustee approval. Anything anchored into the concrete sidewalk would require approval.
And we talked about the wall.
Yes.
And the painting of the wall. Anybody have any comments on that? And just, can you confirm that you are going to comply with the ordinance requirements as to signage, and whether you are proposing any window signs?
Yes, we will comply with the ordinance requirements. Again, these are non-illuminated signs that'll be lit from extended arm, low voltage sign lighting. I will let one of the owners discuss the windows.
Okay.
The window signage. They, as you know, they also operate the restaurant up top, and they're probably more familiar with what they'd like to do with that.
And the last question is emergency egress from the lower level space.
Yes. There are two means of egress. There's an existing set of stairs that exit up through and empty out at Valley Street. Those stairs are going to remain. And then we have our egress at the entrance at the west end of the building, and that is even opened up further with the double doors. Just so you know, that the plans have been submitted to the building department. When we submit the plans, we do an egress analysis, and we do comply with the egress requirements from this space.
One additional question, ADA access. It seems as though you have some ramps, but the final steps,
Yes.
the access are steps
Yeah.
rather than a ramp down in.
That, we do have to address that, and we did not show anything on this. We have to discuss that with the building officials. That will be a requirement. What was in the existing facilities was the chair lifts. You know, that they're so awkward and ugly. We want to do something different. We have to talk to the building department about what we can do with that. We are filing this under the rehab code in New Jersey, which is separate from the IBC code. It allows you some latitude when you're rehabilitating an existing building, but in summary, we do have to comply with handicapped requirements, and all our toilets, just so you're aware, are all designed for handicapped accessibility.
So you will be addressing it in
Yeah.
some form with the building department?
Yes, we will.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Sal, is there anything you wanted to add, or questions you have?
Well, I had the same question regarding the handicap access, because the ramps that are being proposed now go to that, what's called the upper seating area, and I'm wondering why it wasn't considered, within the drawing that's being presented to the board, to provide the access all the way down to the lower
Yeah,
level.
we gave that a tremendous amount of thought. We, in the beginning, thought that we could get a ramp down, but the ramp got so tremendously long to make that transition. Just to give you an idea, the ramp would have to be at a maximum 1 on 12, and we're going down about 3 feet. So you're talking about a 40, 50-foot ramp. In addition, we have to have rest areas on it. It just got so cumbersome. Again, we will address that, possibly with a lift or some chair lifts, but it's not shown on the plans right now.
If you had to put the chairlift over those steps, are they wide enough to include the chairlift? Because that'll stick out from the wall.
Yes, it is wide enough. Those stairs are about 5 foot wide, but as you know, after they're used, they do fold up, so there would be clearance. I hope we don't have to do that, again, but we're going to do what the building department asks us. They're not attractive, and, they're cumbersome. We will figure something out.
Okay, Sal, anything else? Okay. Questions from the board? Danny?
Well, it's not a question so much as a comment. I'm not really interested in cumbersome. I'm interested in people having access, and that's what the law is.
Right.
So those people's rights are as important as anybody else's.
Yeah, by cumbersome, I meant the way they look and the way they
Having
function.
had one in my home, they're useful, and I don't care about the cumbersome. This is a public facility, and it needs to be accessible.
I agree, but they're cumbersome to get in and out of as compared to a lift that you wheel onto and drop down. That was what I was referring to.
Anything else, Danny? Nope. Okay. Other questions? Okay, Michael?
Can you elaborate on the amount of seating? I mean, you have a dining area. What is going to be the seating?
Michael, bring your microphone closer to you, please.
The seating scheme for the upper level and also for the private dining area and certainly for the bar area. What is the seating scheme?
I think it would be best if the owner, who has given that a lot of thought, and I think he even has some plans on that, so he'll give you an idea of what the seating is envisioned.
And from a parking standpoint, you do realize, I mean, you've said that.
Michael.
You do realize you've said there is parking, municipal parking and parking lot. You do realize that every other person that's filed an application is using the same parking.
Oh, I do understand
I'll make
that.
the same comment that I've made at every meeting. Some point in time, we're going to have to face that as a community. We just can't keep using the same spaces over and over and over again. It's not good for the retail climate because eventually you will run out of parking and your businesses will fail without parking. So.
Then I'll make also the same comment, which is that, from the village's standpoint, we certainly understand this need, and and the problem that you've identified is most definitely a problem. And even this past Saturday night, there was a lot of things going on around town, with Rickleton's opening and a whole bunch of other things, and people had a really hard time finding parking. So, that's not a need that has gone, unidentified. There's going to be a number of spots that will be added with the development in the parking garage at Third and Valley. And we're certainly, all of us on the board and all of us in the administration, just as far as especially any member of the public who's watching and concerned about the same issue, that's something that is a very big part of any conversation that we are contemplating about redevelopment in South Orange. Is adding parking is a 100% necessity of that.
Can I also just add that if it's possible, if you guys can have a policy of having your employees park away from the business district, as not further, putting that further burden and stress on the parking?
I would ask you to hold that until the owner, because Mr. DeBarberry is not really in that position, but
Okay.
understood.
Chair, I have one other question.
Please, proceed.
I noticed in Ms. Gruhl's write-up, it talked about being in the historic boundaries. Now, I know obviously, and I've read that it did not have to have their approval, but was it submitted to them for their advice?
No.
You have to ask him.
No, I'm asking.
What is
No, this should not fall under those guidelines. They always have the right to, but would be no reason to submit this to them.
Well, I think the question is, as a courtesy, if in fact there is a historic district, whether or not there's a right of approval or any regulatory authority. I think, if I understand Michael's question, it's really just the question of, was it done just to get the input?
I think the way it works is the board can refer the application to the HPC and ask them to comment on it. This wouldn't require a certificate of appropriateness. It's not a demolition, and it's not a subdivision.
Yeah, it just, you know, any application, I mean, you know, there are lots of applications that we get that are automatically brought to, what is it now called? The Central Village Business
Central
Alliance.
Business District.
Thank you. And, no, what's the name of the entity?
The Village Center Alliance.
Thank you. That, as a general rule, we bring it to the Village Center Alliance to get their input and thoughts on these subjects. If a new business is coming in, I think the question is not whether or not there's a requirement to do that per se, but whether or not it might be good practice to ask for that input. They could just as soon turn around and say, looks good, or no, we choose not to comment on it. And I'm not saying we want to necessarily hold up the process, but I'm wondering whether or not.
But you're asking this board if we should automatically send it when plans are submitted to the planning board? The Board of Trustees wouldn't see these plans. They would never come to them. You
Right.
want this board to submit them to the historic, yeah, so you're saying the historic, that we should send it automatically?
I think it's a subject for discussion for
Okay.
another time. I'll leave it at that. But
Okay.
I think it's something that, I think it's not an unreasonable thought for us to at least contemplate, so. But the short answer is no, this application was not given to Historic Preservation Commission, so that's that. Michael, do you have any other questions?
No, again, my only comment was if our consultant made the comment that it, not subject to historic, but as a courtesy, we might want their input. We do the same thing with the Environmental Commission. Plans automatically should go from when Jetty gets them or somebody, to the Environmental Commission, if it's in their jurisdiction. The same should be for the Historic Commission.
Okay.
I don't know why it shouldn't be, but I don't have a problem.
Okay. That's a policy matter for us to
Yeah.
discuss for another day. Are there any other members of the board that have any questions? I just have one question. I had difficulty figuring out on the wall facing the parking lot, where are the windows going to be? Where are those two windows going to be? Meaning I can see it in terms of, on drawing A1, I can see where they're located along the wall. What I can't figure out is the height on the wall.
I think the best is
I
the
just wanna-
photo from the planner's report. I can bring that over to you.
So it literally is at the level of the ground?
Right.
It's literally at the ground level?
Those are the
Okay.
blocked-in windows.
That's what I thought. It just seemed low. Okay. All right.
I have one question, although I'm not sure now is the right time or not, and it has to do with outdoor dining. I don't know if that's better for you guys or better for the owner.
Better for the owner.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions from the board, I'll open it to the public. Is there any member of the public wishing to ask a question of this witness? Okay, seeing none, then I think we're done. Thank you very much for your testimony, and counsel, you're free to move on to your next witness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My next witness will be one of the principals, Ms. Unique Ranieri. And also we'll have Mr. Albert Ranieri.
To be sworn in.
I just need you to stand right there, both of you. Hold on.
Would you please raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm the testimony to give to this board this evening is the whole truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and addresses for the record.
I'm Yannick Stephen Ranieri. I am at 813 St. Madam Boulevard, West Orange, New Jersey.
Could you spell that, please, your name?
Yannick is Y-A-N-I-C-K, Ranieri, R-A-N-I-E-R-I.
Thank you.
Albert Ranieri, R-A-N-I-E-R-I, 813 Smith Manor Boulevard, West Orange.
Thank you.
Sal, I can answer your question about the handicap. The ramp is going to come down.
Just make sure you got the microphone.
The ramp is going to come down to the lower level. We're going to use a inclined wheelchair lift.
You still need to bring the microphone,
think it's
tip it
on.
down towards, or just hold it, it'd probably be easier.
We're going to use a incline wheelchair lift, which will be attached to the wall by the company that's providing it. It will have a platform with a guard that will fold up if it's not being used. That will take care of anyone that's handicapped. It won't be a problem at all. Now, as far as the parking goes, I was talking, Mark came by last week, was talking to us about the new restaurant that just opened, Rickleton. And the owners there were interested in having some kind of valet parking. So Mark asked if we would be interested, and I said, absolutely. Just, let us know what the cost would be. So what happened was they approached the doctor on First Street, the orthopedic surgeon that has the lot that is empty at night. And he's receptive to having us use it, which would be a better than nothing, because I agree, parking in South Orange is difficult. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're here 13 years, and it's a problem. But people still come. So if we could work out the particulars, we'll have, with this valet service, we'll have parking at that particular lot up the street, which will help. Also, my neighbor next door, the doctor that just renovated the building next to us, we're working a deal with him where we can utilize his property after 6 o'clock. And I could probably fit about 10 to 12 cars on that property. So it's not a lot, but it does help. It does help alleviate some of the problem.
Okay, Al?
Yes.
If I can. If you can just simply start with the basic concept associated with the proposed application.
Okay. The concept is, it's not, I don't want to call it a sports bar. I want to call it a sports bistro. I want it to be for all people of all ages. I just don't want a place where kids are going to come and think they're going to have a great time and take it over, be rowdy. I don't want that. I want a family place. I want a place where younger people can come. I want it upscale. I want it as classy as it can be for a sports bar. Our concept is our food is going to be totally different from what we have right now in Papillon 25. Totally different menu, totally different prices. The project itself, we had to basically gut the entire area of Cryans Restaurant. There's basically nothing left except for maybe one wall. Everything has to be rebuilt. And the concept is it's going to be a warehouse chic look, very upscale.
Could you tell us a little about how this restaurant will function differently from the former Cryans?
Well, Papillon is a different type of venue, different type of cuisine. It's a different theme totally. I'll let my wife tell you. She's the chef.
Okay. We will say that we will have, from Cryans, okay, the cuisine will be very different, a little bit of bistro, but we are also going to have some different different menus that you will not see anywhere else. We will try to do something different with the bistro, kind of French bistro, but also with American flair to it. It will be very different from Cryans because we will have like about 30 to 40 beers. And for the drinks, I don't know, I would like to have my son talk about the drinks and so forth, but I will, what else we will say?
It's going to be...
It's going
to be a very affordable menu. We're pricing it where people can come every night and it won't really break the bank. And I just want to address one thing. You had asked about the window in the front. There will be nothing in the window. It will be kept clear at all times. Unless the township comes by and wants something posted, then we will post it for a SOPAC or any other organization within South Orange. But other than that, our windows will be clear. And the purpose of opening up the front of that building is so that people that are outside can look in. And when I say look in, they're going to be able to see all the way downstairs, because the wall that was inside the restaurant when you walk into the foyer will be removed, so that when you're outside, you can look in. If you're inside sitting at the dining room in the front, you'll be able to look outside. And the windows on the side will be probably a fixed glass window with a grate over it, just to allow light in, just to bring some light into that basement, because it was a very dark venue, and we just want to make people feel that they're not just in a basement, but they're able to see outside. And it's, I think it would be much beneficial for our business doing it that way.
I think that generally provides an overview of the concept and the details. Mr. Chair, I will turn it over to you for proceeding with questions.
Okay. Thank you. First, again, I'd like to see if our professionals have any questions for this witness.
Well, I guess there was one question about the number of seats.
Yes. We're in the process of laying out our seating arrangement. Whatever the township allows, that's what we're going to have. We really don't have a definite number yet, but that will be worked out. It will be approved by the town, and that's what we're going to adhere to. The fire department will come in and tell us what our capacity could be, and that's what we're going to adhere to. Yes?
Can you just, private dining, is that strictly for private parties?
Yes,
Is that
that-
going to be open at the same time as your dining area?
The private area will be closed unless we have such a crowd, which I hope we do, then we will open it up for the public. But other than that, it will be a private room for anniversaries, parties, catering. But hopefully I'll be able to use it several nights a week.
Okay, Danny?
Oh, and I just want to say about the mural on the wall. The mural on the wall, it was adequate, was appropriate for Cryon's theme. It worked out beautifully. But with our concept, it's a modern concept. It's clean lines, it's sleek, it's going to be chic. We're going to have a beautiful awning, a beautiful sign, and the artwork on the wall would be a total distraction and contradiction to what we're doing. But my architect did do something great, which I thought he was running a couple of lines across, which catch your eye and bring you to the restaurant. I don't want any distractions. I want this to stand out, and I think what he did here was a great idea to add color to that wall, that blank wall. And the wall will be painted the color of the existing building. So basically the building will be totally uniform all the way around.
Okay, Danny, go ahead.
So I want to go back for a minute to the ADA compliance in the inside. So I have a couple questions. When you said you had to gut the whole place, was there any consideration given to changing the elevations of the floor so you didn't have an ADA problem?
Change the elevation?
Well, you know,
When you walk in?
can redo a floor, you can raise the floor, you can do all kinds of things if you were gutting at all in terms of the levels. Was there any consideration in the actual construction given so that you wouldn't have a problem with ADA compliance?
Not really. The only floor that we could control is the floor when you walk into the venue.
Okay.
That's the only area that we could control. The other floor is cement, and there's really nothing you could do with it. But it's going to be very...
I mean, I know some buildings in town have changed cement floors, so I was just curious.
Well,
but if you didn't consider it, you didn't consider it. The second question is, can you go back and explain this lift, please, for me? It sounds like if someone is in a wheelchair, it's a fine lift. What if they're not in a wheelchair and still need that service? How does that work?
If they're not in a wheelchair and they can't walk down the stairs, I could put a chair on the wheelchair lift, and they could take that down the stairs. I did a lot of research on the handicapped vehicles for people, and if they're not in a wheelchair and they can't walk down the stairs, a chair can be placed on the lift. They could sit on it. It has a bar for safety, and they could take it down or they could take it up.
So the platform has a built-in seat?
No, it doesn't.
So that built-in seat could jiggle on the lift?
It's a wheelchair lift. It's to accompany a wheelchair. You wheel your chair right onto the platform.
Okay.
Now, if you have just a seat, then a person with a wheelchair would not be able to use it.
Okay, so, but a person with a walker, for instance, could still use that lift, and there would be a way for them to hold on and have a
Yes.
handrail?
Yes, there'd be a safety bar.
Okay,
There'd
thank
be
you.
a safety bar.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, just, in the wheelchair lift, where would it be anticipated that you would place that? Because it would have to be at a level area, one of the landings.
It'll be at that lower platform, and it could be either on the left or the right of the stairs. Either one doesn't matter.
Well, the left of the stairs is, you've got a coat closet and you've got storage space in that area there. And then to the right of the stairs, there's a ramp going up to that other level, so it couldn't be on that ramp area.
It's good.
Let me. This sort of goes back to Mr. D. Barberi's comments. Although there has been some consideration specifically and acknowledgement that more has to be done specifically with ADA compliance, my clients will comply and will work specifically with the building department in order to do that. But I don't believe that has been completed at this point. Otherwise, it will be reflected on your plans.
Okay, because then the other question is, it looks like it's a solid wall coming down. When you come in the vestibule, you go down the first ramp, and then you make the left to go down the other ramp. It looks like that's a solid wall separating the ramps from the dining area. Is that correct?
That solid wall will have a doorway for a coat room, but the doorway will be probably about 6-7 feet away from the stairs. So.
No, that's not the wall I'm talking about. I'm saying when you first come, if you refer to the plan behind you, when you come in the vestibule, you come into the vestibule, you got
Yes.
the first ramp down to the mid-platform.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now right in front of you, that's a solid wall, correct? Separating that mid-platform and the next ramp from the dining area.
You mean over here?
Yes. Is that a solid wall?
That's a solid wall, but it's coming out. It's going to be a half wall.
Okay. You took it out. It's not clear on the plan. That's a half wall, so that wall will be up to code height at the edge of the platform. So you would be able to see down into the dining area. from
Yes.
there. Okay. So then potentially the lift that you're talking about could be from that mid-platform area.
The
down.
lift would probably be placed, could be either on this side or on this wall here. Probably it's going to be on this wall right here, because there's much more area to maneuver.
So you'll have to reconfigure the coat closet area and that other closet
No.
area?
The coat closet could stay because it's probably about 8 feet away from the stairs. Where the stairs begin, the doorway will be probably about 8 feet back. So that won't interfere with the lift in any way, or maneuvering a wheelchair.
Yeah, you're not talking about the chair lift, right? You're talking about a regular platform lift,
I'm
correct?
talking about an inclined wheelchair lift.
All right, so it will take some reconfiguration. on the
Exactly,
site. Okay.
exactly.
I'm a little confused about our ability to review the plans. If the plans have been presented to us and I'm asking for some input from legal counsel. If the plans have been submitted to us and it's been acknowledged that the plans are in flux, I'll just say, does that affect our ability to review and rule on the application?
The board does have some discretion to delegate some aspects of design that might be completed after an approval to the board's professionals. In this case, it would be the engineer. provided the board is comfortable with the application. And it would seem, apart from the applicant's condition that they would, stipulation that they would comply with ADA requirements, that it's true we don't have a full set of designs for that compliance at this point. So I think it's up to the board to decide whether or not that's something they're willing to allow the board professional to review and approve after an approval.
And yes, my clients would stipulate that they would be in compliance with ADA and satisfactory to the building department specifications and requirements.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, isn't the plan inaccurate if there's a wall that's there that's not going to be there? In addition to the ADA issue, didn't we just hear that there's a wall that's on the plan that's not going to be on the plan? Or did I misunderstand
The
that?
the wall was a half wall,
It's just not gonna be all the way up.
so it doesn't show it all the way up.
Okay.
All right. Other questions from the members of the board? I do have one question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've just, the higher Gruel memo speaks to the loading space requirements. Could you please address how, if there's no loading space, how that's going to be accomplished for the restaurant?
What do you say?
The loading, no, we have.
Microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the loading?
Oh, it's right there. It will be on First Street, where,
It'll be right where it always was.
On First
You got to
Street.
use the mic, Albert.
It's on First Street, same as it always was. There's two entrances where if you really want to service for your goods, there's one on First Street and one on Valley. But the one on First Street is the one that's basically used all the time. It will be used the same way. It's the same function.
Sorry, can you just point out exactly where it's going to be on A1?
There's a doorway right here on
Show it
First
on the
Street.
elevation, would you?
Oh, where's the elevation? Oh,
Yeah,
right here.
okay.
That's your service for your deliveries.
Now, that doorway goes into what's shown on the plan as the office in the green area on the plan above it? That door goes
Well,
directly?
the office is to the side. The stairs come down next to the office.
Okay, because, well, the floor plan doesn't show where the door is.
No, it's here.
Can you tell us what's beside the door? It looks like it's a little alcove or something.
It's indented about 1.5 feet.
Is it a window?
No, this is the door right here. And it's indented about 1.5 feet in. Same as it's been, no change.
The indent in the building on the floor plan shows where the door is.
Right.
According to the floor plan area, the door goes into the office. What's shown as the
Well,
office
the door has stairs going down, and the
Okay.
office is next to it.
Okay, so those stairs are just not shown on this plan?
Well, yeah.
Okay. And how, all right, so that's the space you'd be using for bringing in the goods?
That's
and
for
stuff.
bringing in, taking out. We have a little storage area for our debris that has to be put out, and it goes out and comes in the same way.
Okay.
Show me, where is the debris area?
On the side of the building, this is the ingress and egress for delivery, and then the area where we're going to keep our debris will be right in this area over here.
I can't see, can your wife?
Oh.
I see that white area.
Right in this area over here or up in the front.
How are you getting from, you're going to walk all the way through the office and go, I'm confused, I'm sorry. How are you going to get from that door, which?
The plans are a little deceiving.
Yeah.
The stairs from that door, which is right here, come straight down. And the office is right next to it. But where these stairs come down, oh, this is the stairs.
This is the stairs right here.
Oh, right here, okay.
This is the stairs right here. The stairs goes to the gray area.
Need to use the microphone, please?
Okay, I'm saying the stairs goes to the gray area right here.
This goes to the point that Dan Allen was raising before. Because the place is actually 4 feet below ground level, the staircase and the office is down below, and the staircase is above, and it wraps around that office. So it comes down over the office because that's coming up from a steeper angle, and the office is actually underneath. But they're showing us a level floor plan, and it's not really quite level. This part here is 4 feet higher as the staircase where the start is. And, you know.
The storage area is basically the same as it was.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Just really quickly, we were just, the egress, it seems, I mean, just from looking at this, the egress seems like it might not work. That if the back stair is, if you're in the storage area, at the back of the storage area, and your stairwell up in the back of the building is blocked, getting to the front vestibule may be more than 125 feet. And I'm just by, I mean, I don't have a scale, I can't look, but it just seems like it might be. It'd be nice to see the egress.
Yeah, again, this is going to go through a very detailed review with the building department. But for the travel distance in a facility like this, because we're sprinklered, it's 250 feet from the most remote point. And this is only an 8,000 square foot space. We did run the calculations on egress, and it does work. Our plans that were submitted to the building department does have a travel distance line from remote points on it that the building department will review.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was sprinkled.
I'll just say to hear myself say this. The drawing could have been, forget about the fact that it's not done, which I get, but it could have been clearer given the differences in elevations. It's difficult to follow this, and putting aside whether or not I'm sure you will stipulate, and we appreciate that or I will speak for myself, appreciate that you will, comply with the various codes. It's also my responsibility as a board member to try to understand and make sense of this, and I'm having a bit of a difficult time doing that. So that's sort of, I won't speak for my fellow board members, although I have some sense that I'm not the only one who's maybe a little bit confused by the way this plays out exactly. And it is not unreasonable for us to ask questions about operations, if not the specifics of how you'll comply with a particular part of the code. So that's, I think, what you're hearing right now, if I'm not mistaken. But if there are no other questions on this point, I want to go back to something. Do you want to?
Just a couple comments, yeah.
Okay, please.
So just a few comments. One is I'd love to. I don't know if you're prepared to speak about it tonight or at a later date. Considering doing outdoor dining, that's just something that we are encouraging all of our food establishments to do. And I don't know if the sidewalk on First Street is wide enough, but that's certainly something that we would just love to hear about if you've thought about that.
My neighbor next door, the doctor, we have a piece of property. It's his property on the side of our building, on the south side of our building. It's off of his driveway. It's about 5 feet wide and runs down about 25, 30 feet. We were talking to him about possibly taking that spot, doing cement, a cement base, and putting a few tables outside on the side of the building. Something we were talking about. Nothing, that's for Papillon, not for the Sports Bistro. But the Sports Bistro does have, I believe, enough sidewalk area where we can also put maybe 2 or 3 tables outside also.
Okay, that's just certainly something that
I would love to do that if it's possible.
If it's possible, it's certainly something that we'd love to see.
Yeah.
I'd also, a couple other comments. One being, we certainly appreciate you pursuing with the parking authority some ideas around doing valet service. There are a couple towns that do that actually town-wide on Friday, Saturday nights, which is kind of an interesting idea. And so this is definitely not a solution to the parking problem, but certainly helps. So I just, as myself and from the kind of village standpoint, and maybe as a member of the planning board as well, just appreciate you pursuing those options. Anything that can be done to help alleviate some of the crunch in the downtown during the peak times. And the one other comment is a little bit on a different track, which is I just want to say, how long have you guys owned Papillon?
About 13 years.
Okay. So I guess I just want to say, as the village president, maybe more than even as a planning board member, although really both, that we appreciate you doing this. You're taking a space that's vacant and turning it into what looks like is going to be a great use for the town and provide a great service to the town. And I think that just something to note for anybody, members of the public that are watching, that not unlike Stoney Johnson opening up Brickleton's, you guys already own a business in South Orange, and you're opening a second business in South Orange. And so hopefully that is some showing that we have been, as a village, attempting to make the processes work efficiently for you guys, and obviously make sure that you comply with all the rules to make sure to keep everybody safe and all those sort of things. But that we definitely appreciate people that are business owners in town investing again in South Orange. So I just wanted to make sure that as we discuss making sure that you guys are in compliance with everything, that there's also an expression of appreciation, obviously, for being a business owner in town already, but also choosing to invest more money back in town.
Thank you. Thank you. Everything will be, the appliance will be there, or else the business won't open, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a couple of points. To the outdoor dining, they have to maintain a minimum of 4 feet of clear sidewalk space, and they only have about a 6-foot sidewalk on the First Street side. So I don't believe that that's going to work. You mentioned trying to do something with one of the neighboring property owners. That's not permitted. You can't use somebody else's property to put your dining on another piece of property. They would have to come back to the board for a site plan approval to create a dining area on the doctor's space or the.
Well, that's private property, though.
It's correct. It's private property, but it's just like you have to come to the board to get your approvals for your changes. They would have to come to the board to get approval to create a dining area on a piece of property that has a different business in there.
I see.
So you wouldn't be able to just switch off and just use their proproperty.
I see.
So before you get into that, I don't want you to do something. And
for the record, as he indicated, there have just simply been discussions. There have been no agreements. There have been no decisions. Just general discussions, and
I understand that. I just want to let you know that you can't just do it. You would have to get board approval to create a dining area in that space.
Before any dining, outside dining would occur, we would comply with all ordinances and requirements of the village.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Sal, did you have more than that? Do you want to?
The only question I had was regarding the valet parking, but I think that gets to a bigger issue. If it may be a good idea, but if you're using valet parking and it's being used on a private parking lot on another piece of property, there's a question there regarding the use of that other parking lot for
Valet parking
paid parking.
being worked out by the village administrator and the parking authority, because it's being done with, I think, 4 businesses are looking into it. So I don't know that.
Sounds like there's a conversation that should
I
take
think
place
there,
offline.
yes, I think there is a conversation that has to take place, because if you're using a private parking lot that was approved for that property or the business there, now you're creating.
Any impact on his application, because it's.
I understand, I just want to question.
Okay. Anything else, Sal? Okay. Before we leave the subject of parking, one of the questions that was raised by one of my fellow board members was, would you, it was directed originally to the architect, and we were told to direct it to you as the owners, was would you be willing to encourage your employees to park outside of the business district area so that that other customers, of your own and for other businesses would not be displaced?
Well, if they want to work for us, they better comply to that. It's very simple.
Good answer.
That's encouraging.
Okay.
It's simple.
Thank you. That was emphatic. Okay. Other questions from members of the board?
Just one,
Please.
I wanted to ask, so, okay, have you guys considered anything like LEED certification, any green components like green materials, non-toxic materials, having a completely non-toxic interior by the building materials that were spec'd for the interior design? You've done any kind of considerations around energy efficiencies, being 20%, 30%, 50% over ASHRAE standards
Well,
or anything
we're
like that?
doing a totally new heating and air conditioning system, which will be totally efficient and up to date as far as that goes. The existing brick in the building, whatever we have there, we're going to keep that as it is, just clean it up.
Are you going to clean it with, are you going to use sustainable methods versus kind of the acid and the normal kinds of ways that brick is cleaned?
Just soap and water, basically, just to scrub it down. Maybe power wash, but nothing toxic or chemical that would be dangerous to inhale or to work with. No, we wouldn't do that. But as far as you say, green, whatever we could do, we'll do. If it happens to be green, fine. If it's not green, I can't help that.
Well, there's options for everything. You could do it 100% green. You could be net zero if you wanted to. So it's not a matter of like it being a de facto approach. But you have to put effort. That's why I'm asking if you've considered any of these.
I think that's something that we probably have not considered specifically, maybe to the detail that we should, but given where we are in the process, it's not too late, and my client will certainly take that under advisement, and we thank you for that observation.
Okay. Other questions from the members of the board? Okay, if not, it's open to the members of the public. Is there any member of the public here today wishes to ask any questions to this witness? Okay, hearing none, I think we're done with these witnesses. Do you have any other witnesses to present or anything else to add?
I have none. I'll just summarize very briefly, if the chair permits.
Please.
Certainly. So, this application, as we have indicated, is specifically to convert the existing Cryon space into a sports bistro. It will be operated by existing proprietors within the village that, as they've testified, have operated a facility for in excess of 13 years. And they will continue to have a first-class establishment, although be at a different price point, different targeted segment, but they will still operate it in the first-class manner that they always have.
Okay, thank you for that. Now we have to open it to the general public. Are there any members of the public who wish to make statements for the record as opposed to ask questions of witnesses? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. And now I'm going to open it to my fellow board members for comments and discussion.
So the only comment I have is clearly the plan was a little bit confusing because of the elevation issue and obviously ADA compliance, but it seems that the applicants are actively working on addressing that. And if we have, the discretion to leave it to our planning professionals to work with the applicants, I am okay with doing so.
Okay. All right, thank you. Other thoughts?
I guess I come to sort of the opposite conclusion, that for the sake of a month, to see something that's less confusing and acknowledging what the mayor said about wanting, thank you for, expanding businesses in town. My instincts would be the opposite. I'd like to see what all those elevations look like, et cetera. But I wouldn't be the sole person to block the progress if that's what the decision of the board is.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Sure.
Okay.
It's
I
open
just would
anyway.
hate to see it delayed as a result of that. That's all.
Okay. Other comments? Yes.
Are we talking mostly just about whether we are interested in seeing the ADA accessibility changes ourselves? This is the first time someone's ever told me I'm not talking loud enough. Whether we're interested in seeing the ADA changes ourselves, or whether it's just a question of wanting to also see just an updated floor plan for the sake of it, or is it just about the ADA component? And whether we do it or whether the engineer does it?
Are you asking, the question's not directed to me, it would be more to Danny, because he's the one who's raising the point, so.
I'm interested in seeing the plans redrawn so that the elevations are proper and the ADA is clearer. But as I said, I wouldn't be the sole one to preclude progress.
There was the other issue of seating arrangements. It's not just the unclarity. I think there were some issues that I think kind of what's kind of happened is that, well, we're going to do it, and I think what we want to see is we want to see it done. I mean, that seems to be.
Well, I always have, always trouble with these kind of things, because we're talking about putting a restaurant where a restaurant was, and I imagine if they did nothing, they could just open the restaurant. If they just took the space, cleaned it up, and went in there, they wouldn't even be here. I think they're here for, the two things they're here for is because of the facade change, which is the glass and I guess there's some issue because they changed the way the entrance is with the ADA requirements. I think other than that, the rest of it is just, our own feeling to see it. And I think that's, really the issues at hand for us, are those two issues. Because I think that's the only reason they had to come, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sal, but I think that's the only two reasons they had to come to the planning board. And the main one was the facade. I guess they could have kept the old lift in there too, and been fine with that. So when I think about it, and I'm really looking at the facade, the seating arrangement, he's going to stick to the seats, whatever the fire department allows. If we can squeeze 200 seats in, he'll squeeze 200 in. If we can get 250, he'll do 250, or whatever the number is. But it's not something that's going to change my mind of whether I'm going to approve a plan because I see tables and chairs in a picture, because restaurants change their seating arrangements all the time based on how much business they're doing and how much they have to squeeze in, or if they want to make it more open and they want private parties. But as far as the facade, I see it as a major improvement, and I don't really have any objection to that facade. And that's where I would stand on it, because that's the reason they're here. So.
Let me try and I agree with Mark to a major degree, but we also have a site plan committee that certainly the plans, if this is approved tonight, the plans could be reworked and be brought back to that committee for review, and that committee can bring them to the board at the next meeting, if the board so desires. That way the board will accomplish two things. We won't hold the business up. We'll be able to see what the final result is.
I agree with that.
Would the plans that go to the site plan committee have to come back to the board for approval?
No, I think it would be coming back, I think, more for information, just showing where the handicap lift would go, what kind of lift it would go, the wall, a little bit of a better detailed drawing.
Well, I think in order for them to get their building permits, they're going to have to address all of that.
They're going to have to what?
They have to address all of that in order to get the
Right.
full building permits. I mean, these are basically rough drawings, giving you an idea of what they're proposing to do. Any
Well, I'm
changes?
just trying to, Sal, what I'm trying to do is give the board, the planning board, a method of just seeing what the result was of the redone site plan based on building department.
But once it's approved, it's
Well,
approved.
It's approved subject to a number of things.
Those are conditions. The applicant has to
Yeah.
meet those conditions, but,
They have to meet those conditions anyway.
Right.
He-
is what you're saying.
But Michael's suggesting another condition, if I understood you
Well, I'm
correctly.
just suggesting a condition that.
I think
once
Michael's suggesting
they
that.
yeah,
I think he's suggesting that once those plans are completed, that Sal share them with the board.
yeah, in
Okay.
essence.
But you're not talking about a site plan
Or it can
review
be,
committee.
shared with the site plan committee for sign-off, if that's what you wish. I mean, we have that site plan committee for that reason. for
But
those
it
things.
wouldn't really be for sign-off, because they'd be meeting the conditions that are already required, regardless of
Well,
whatever,
it can go
right,
either
whatever
way.
we
It can
decide.
Go either way, but it shortcuts the
but
process.
if the site plan committee is not happy with those plans,
It's meaningless.
Well, yeah, then we
there's
come
no
back to the
recourse
board.
at that
Right.
point.
Then we come
As
back
long
to
as the plans meet the conditions that the
Okay.
board places on it and they meet the codes.
No, I think, I will say this, at the last meeting, I voted against declaring this application complete. I was concerned we did not have adequate information. And there is some concern at this meeting that we feel that there's a lack of adequate information. So, I mean, unfortunately, the discussion now is, do you make them come back? We could, make them come back, wait another month, put together the drawings that we would like to see so we can feel 100% confident of what there are, or we can vote on it tonight. I think as a matter, Michael, of what you're talking about, I think that there should be some review prior to the meeting, not after the meeting. That way, there can be a sense that everything that we need has been brought forward, whether it's a part of the completeness, specifically meeting items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and Q on the checklist, just going beyond that to know that we have the information that we need, that we're going to feel comfortable when we get here, that we're going to feel comfortable voting on. Having said that, for reasons already discussed, I don't think that's really an option at this point. Certainly, it'd be nice to have it brought back, and certainly, we can ask Sal to bring it back and explain how these issues were addressed or discussed. But having said that, at this point, here we are. So we're either going to vote on the application one way or the other, or we're going to ask the applicant to come back with more information. Those are really the only two options.
I also think that the information that we're asking for, we're going to be looking to our professionals whether or not it's done right in the first place. And the seating arrangement will be looked at by the fire department, and I trust they will make the best decisions on emergency access and egress and those kind of things. As far as the ADA compliance, it'll be the engineering office and our building office. I have full confidence that those things will be met and kind of presented. So having it come back, I'm not worried about, because I look to our professionals that was done in completeness anyways.
I'm not saying it should. I'm saying that personally, I'd feel better if there was more here. I'm not saying we should necessarily I'm not saying we should push it off. I'm saying, first of all, there's the choice. And I'm laying the choice bare in front of the board if it wasn't absolutely 100% clear. The second thing is I'm just making a statement for myself. I won't speak for anybody else. I think I hear at least one or two other board members saying this, that there is we would feel better informed if these questions had been addressed and put on the plan prior to walking into this meeting. It's not to criticize or whatever, it's just that you wouldn't have any of this discussion going on.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you on
So I think what I was addressing with Michael to a certain extent was how we might get there next time, which I think is to sort of just invert the order of what he's suggesting. Unfortunately, we can't go back in time, so that's...
But let me suggest one other thing. If you want to do that and it comes back to the board, then I would suggest, rather than hold the business person up, for another 30 days, why couldn't we call a special meeting for 2 weeks? Give the applicant a chance to redo the plan for the missing information, work out whatever the applicant has to work out with engineering or building department, and then just call a meeting for 2 weeks.
Could someone help me understand the gap between what the professionals would be doing anyway and what is being suggested as missing information? Because it doesn't sound like there actually is one. Can someone...
It just seems to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, the architectural drawings are really not that great. I mean, we've seen much better in the sense of presenting elevations, egress, the table seatings. I think that's all it is that the drawings aren't as what we've seen in the past or we've been used to.
But all the things that would be part of that anyway are going to be reviewed by the professionals, regardless of whether they are on the drawings that we're looking at today or not.
Absolutely.
So, right, so it doesn't sound like we're actually adding a whole lot of value in the process at this point going forward. We have professionals that do these things. We've made our concerns and comments known to the applicants. Hopefully other applicants that are watching will include little pictures of tables on their next one.
Well, let me just jump in here real quick, because I don't really think that what you're saying is correct. Because the issue is like, and this isn't necessarily towards this, but it's that as a planning board, all these engineers, everyone, the fire department, they're available before they come here. And it's the responsibility of professionals to go to them prior to coming to a planning board and presenting something. And it not being prepared is, in my sense, like, it puts up a red flag, and I think it puts up red flags for lots of people. So we're asking people, and I think it needs to be a precedent being set that we all want them to move forward. I think we want the expediency to be what happens, but it's not our responsibility to overlook details because they're not there.
I don't think it's a question of overlooking. There's controls in place. They presented their plans. There's controls in place. We have professionals here that are going to review the plans to ensure that they're in compliance. I think for me, it's a matter of administrative delays and making it easy for people and business people to come and work with South Orange.
I agree with you 100%.
So now
But
we're gonna delay it 30 days?
that's available for people before they show up here. You can go meet with engineers. You can go meet with the fire department before this.
But the issue goes back to Mike, then we should have the site plan, as Howard said, the site plan review needs to take place well in advance of the meeting, so that those things can happen, and then these issues would come out. At this point, and the cost of a special meeting means bringing back professionals on both parts, so there is a cost to it, by the way.
And I also-
And never mind the scheduling and the dates, and I don't know what's available in SOPAC and our schedules. We almost didn't know if we had a quorum tonight, and obviously we did, but I know from the past, scheduling a special meeting has been near impossible. And I just, again, I go back to this fact, this was a restaurant, this is nothing new here. It's a different facade.
The board should
with a
also
different
take-
lift. The rest of it is all window dressing.
No pun intended?
Yeah, exactly, no pun intended. So I personally, and holding up because of our process, because it's really our process, not doing the site plan review first, we'd be holding someone up for a period of time because of us. And at some point, these people pay rent, they pay construction people and stuff like that. Now, if we had a conditional approval where they could start the construction and come back for the final approval before they open, we just don't operate like that, though. It's not the way that we operate, because we're not a planning board that meets every single week or twice a week or on a professional basis. So I would not hold them up. I would change our processes to include the site plan review ahead of time, to include the environmental questions ahead of time, or lay out standards that we want in place for renovations and for new construction. But we haven't done it, and that's a failure of the board, myself included.
Okay. Sal, do you want to say something?
Yeah, the board should take into consideration that typically a site plan review and site plan application is basically looking at the new structure, looking at a site, looking at things like that. Interior floor plans, architectural plans are usually presented to the board in a very basic format. And the details that are included in those plans are very rarely held to, exactly once the project begins and they start. What you have here is the applicant is showing a ramp and has testified that there's going to be ADA accessibility to the requirements that they need to meet, based on the code. And I think the condition that the board should put on there is basically that they will meet the requirements and comply. Now, that's going to change, that's going to require some renovations to these plans, some changes to these plans, which will have to go through the building department. The code officials will have to review them and make sure they meet the code. So I think, what I'm getting is that is the biggest question and the biggest concern that the board has. Mr. Chambers has other concerns as well, and the board can consider whether they want additional conditions on there. But there's no way to, other than delaying it, having them come back, there's no way to change these plans at this moment.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
I move that the application be approved with all of the subject tos. I guess I can enumerate them one after another, but I believe they're on the record already.
I think it's
be adhered
important,
to.
I think it's important that I think you have to lay
Thank you.
them out here.
Okay,
Just
let
for-
me give it a go.
Just so the applicant is 100%.
Please feel free to jump in if I've missed one. A, the plan show the ADA accessibility as approved by our village engineer?
No.
By the building department? Or
No, that the renovations will meet the
that the
required
renovations will
ADA
meet
code
ADA
standards.
requirements. Subject to, you won that one.
The village is falling apart?
Subject to all signage adhering to the town requirements. Subject to the painting scheme being flushed out and submitted. I mean, we haven't seen the elevation meeting building code.
I don't follow that one. Can you
Well, I
elaborate?
mean, there is really, they're just showing the stripe there, but I don't know what the colors are and so forth. I mean, well, I don't know if there's a requirement for colors in town or,
No.
okay, good.
We can scrap that one.
See, I'm just trying to think if we've left anything out.
Can I offer some friendly amendments?
Sure. Be my guest. I'll
So-
take all the amendments you want to get.
So I think that the final, because the signage is not complete, that the signage will be compliant with the code, will be submitted so
said.
it is compliant, that they will continue to work with the parking authority to make sure that everything is done to mitigate the, effect on the parking, including additionally that they will require, as the applicant stated, that employees not park in the business district, and that finally, as one of our other members asked, and as I think the applicant agreed, that they would, insofar as they could, incorporate green building methods into their into the work that they're going to be doing in the building. Those are other things that I heard and
Yeah,
wrote down.
I heard that. The only thing I would take exception to is the green building, because I don't know what they can incorporate in it. I mean, he's testified the AC.
I think we're just asking that they look into
Yeah,
it.
that's
and-
fine. If you're just looking into it, that's fine.
Okay. Do you accept those friendly
Absolutely.
amendments? Okay.
I would just ask, how do they prove that they met that requirement, that they looked at, that's why I'm not.
They'll tell you that they've done the best they can.
So,
Use their best efforts to incorporate. I'm sorry, best efforts is a term of
We're
art.
not, there's no standard that we're setting out. This is
Use
they-
best
they-
efforts.
they'll come back to you and say they've done the best they could. Okay? Not going to ask you to go out and test whether or not something is green board or not green.
No,
We'll have
although
you
if we
look at
do
every
have
light bulb.
expertise on the board, and if there's any suggestions that we want to throw out and provide, maybe they'd be open to at least getting some of that information. That's at least one way to help that process.
We can do
Not
that
to-
offline.
you
We can do
work.
that offline.
But you are the expert.
So, Sal, does that address your question?
Yeah,
I'll
accept
second that.
accept your amendments.
Okay, so we have a second. Okay, so then, Jody, you want to call the roll, please?
Sure, Mr. Cotomax,
Yes.
Mr. Lorner,
Yes.
Mr. Rosner,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Torpe,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
No.
Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
and Ms. Harris?
Yes.
And I'll say yes, too.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lerman.
Sorry, you weren't called, you can't vote. So, we have approved your application. We wish you the best of luck on your project. I'm sure it'll be a great addition to the town. We all look forward to seeing it open. And there being no other business or anything else, okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved, a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, have a good night.